We're talking today with Anne Stauffer, Director of Fiscal Federalism at Pew Charitable Trusts. And how much money does the federal government send back to the states each year?
Yeah, we look at the federal government and how much money is spent in the states. And in 2015, the federal government spent $3.4 trillion in the states, which was 92% of the federal budget overall. So really, when you're talking about the federal budget, you're really talking about the state-by-state budget.
And what does that money go toward? What kinds of programs?
Yeah, so we look at it in large categories and the programs within them. So the largest amount that the federal government spends is for retirement benefits. And so that would be for Social Security, which is really the lion's share, and then federal pensions and other programs. The second largest is what we call non-retirement benefits. And that includes things like Medicare, really that's the majority of it, payments to individuals like for unemployment insurance and for food stamps and Pell Grants. And then the third largest category is what we call for grants, and that's really federal payments that go mostly to states for programs that the federal government and the states run in conjunction with each other, something like Medicaid, transportation funding, education funding, and that also includes some funding for individuals and nonprofits like research grants to universities.
And
so
why?
Sorry, I just wanted to say there are two more categories that people think about, and that's contracts and salaries and wages. So that's federal purchasing for large equipment down to office supplies, and of course payments for federal employees who are all around the country doing different activities.
And why the wide variance between a state like Louisiana, which gets about 42% of its revenue from the federal government, and North Dakota, which is at 18%?
Right. So what we're looking at is how much federal money goes directly to state budgets for programs like Medicaid and transportation. Louisiana is quite high. For some, there are different reasons, and one of them can be economic, and the fact that programs like Medicaid are driven by poverty indicators. So states that have high poverty tend to get much more in Medicaid funding. And North Dakota is quite low, mostly actually because of a significant increase in state revenue that they received through the oil and gas boom. So there's always different factors that play into that, and it can be demographics, it can be the state of the state revenues overall. There are many reasons.
And how are state tax revenues faring since the Great Recession?
Well, the Great Recession really took a toll on state taxes, but at this point now, it's been a long, slow recovery. 32 states are above the peak revenue they had before the recession tended to crash their revenues, but also 18 states are still lagging. So it's an uneven recovery picture.